I'd like to show you now a model of what you can do to harmonize an ascending chromatic scale. So here's a D major scale, but it's turned into a chromatic scale by having chromatic notes inserted between the whole steps. What I'm going to do is I'm going to chromatically ascend by step. I'm going to go from the 1 chord to the 2 chord to the 3 chord, and each time I'm going to precede the 2nd and the 3rd chord with a first inversion version of their dominant. I could also use a leading tone 7th chord, a secondary leading tone chord, but I'm going to use the dominant of each of these. Now notice that when we get to scale degree 3, we can't have a raised scale degree 3 going to a raised scale degree 4, because then we'd be getting outside of our diatonic framework. So we actually have to repeat scale degree 3 in the bass to get a chord that can tonicize 4, and then we can have a chord that tonicizes 5. So every time you have a half step in the diatonic scale, there is going to be that little glitch in the chromatic scale. So here's my D major scale. Okay, so I'm sort of alternating between 3-note and 4-note chords, but you could figure out which note to double in order to move to the next chord well. Probably I should double the F sharp here, the G sharp there, the A, and the B. The 2 chord is preceded by its dominant. The 3 chord is preceded by its dominant. The 4 chord is preceded by its dominant, which means that the F sharp has to repeat in the bass. The 5 chord is preceded by its dominant. Let me play this for you. It's a very simple progression. Now we could do a similar thing to get a descending line in the bass, and this is a different sequence from the one that I showed you in lecture 2, which was a circle of fifths sequence. Here I'm in a minor key, and I'm descending from tonic to subtonic to submediant, and the submediant to the dominant is where we get the half step in the natural minor scale. So this is where there's going to be that glitch in the sequence, and we'll have to have 2 repeated notes. What we're doing here this time is we're following each chord with its dominant. So I'm going to start out with a D minor chord. Okay, and I also see that I've broken out of my sequence a little bit here. I should put the A down an octave to make everything sequential. Okay, but basically it's the same idea. The tonicized chords now are going down by step, and in the bass we're going from the root of the tonicized chord to its leading tone, which is what gets us a minor second descending, and then we go to the next tonicized chord whose root is a minor second lower than that, or an augmented unison lower than that, and so on. And here's what this progression sounds like. And in class, we'll be looking at various excerpts from apparently very chromatic and complex pieces to see that, in fact, what underlies them are these fairly simple sequences.